Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to start learning sponsors. Okay, a year learning my and family memory was Malka Chana Pinchas. Friends of Jeremiah Svi Ben Zev. Friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliel Ben Yosef Cohen. Those who were inspired by Rebbe and Emerita Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malkabad Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Shpur, Yosef Chaim Bechava, Hanan ben Moshe Eliezer Vechana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Alevi Vinci Pora, Isa ben Yom Moshe Cohen Vechana, Rexford Friends of Brother Sherman, Michael Klein and Friends of Judith Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Marsha Browning and her husband, Harav Yerachmiel ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shalom Shraga ben Dov, friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer ben Yisrael Avram, Amanda ben Behan and Malala, in memory of her mother, Michael Machlabat Yehuda Leib. Okay? Judith and Michael Persky, father Yaakov Yitzchak ben Hirschbaum. Novik in memory of his mother, Mary Gilbert Bas Chanach. Tova and Zimmerman from himself. Be pious of her husband, Rabbi Yitzchak Chaim ben David. Rabbi Lorraine Galat, Rabbi Patriarch's brother, Chaim David Ackerman. Harry and Joe Mitzvah in memory of his mother, Malka Bat Baruch, and his sister Golda Leib Halevi. A week of learning by Mira Siddiq in memory of her mother Shosha Bat Abraham Halevi and her mother-in-law Ritza Bat Yitzchak Yaakov. The old memory of her husband Ben Gershon. Today is Monday the 20th. We have a day learning by Eli and Zimmerman in memory of his father Altitz Ben Sion and Eliyahu Yehuda. May the Shemas have an Aliyah, Craig Rafir, Haki Shir Shematzliah, the Chol B'nai Yisrael, a good Kabbalah Shia. Okay. Hey, Jen, if we can begin to get we can get our sustenance and then come and see we'll get started. Reb Shimon went to New York to visit his mother. Okay? Okay, so it seems appropriate that yes. Amud Bay's the very last line. Okay? All right, pay bet Amud Bay's. Okay, it's the last few words of the Amud, and then we go on to today's material. Okay? So it's not necessarily a difficult Gemara, but it is a long Gemara. And it's going to tell us in a moment that according to at least this Gemara here, uh, okay, as the Gemara is going to continue, the text, the Braita is going to list all of these items, and then the Braita is going to continue and review each one of them at a time. And so some of them come in short, some are longer in regards to each of the items. Okay, and we'll see if there are questions or comments in regards to the various pieces. Okay? So again, okay. Was used both in cases eaten by human beings and the leaves and things like that were primarily for animals. Okay, so then it says, because even the okay, the shoots for anywhere that belong to all the shoots. Okay, okay, okay.
making ordinance. If you, one A has better land, one tribe has better land than another. So they're saying there are certain common resources.
Well, we'll get to that in more detail. Okay, you're right. We're not there just yet. Sometime, in other words, the concept being that when Yeshua divided the land among the tribes, he had to make certain guidelines. No. Okay. We don't know. The Gemara doesn't tell me that. Yeah, the Gemara doesn't say that to me. It just simply implies that these may have been guidelines that as the tribe settled.
Without these guidelines, you'd have thought you can't do these things.
Well, we'll see.
Or you thought you could do something that you really
Or other things.
That's private property.
Okay, all right, let's go on, gentlemen. Okay? Okay? Okay, so we're dealing now with, we're actually the three, okay, so we said, according to Rav about Bahuna, he said because you pay for that water, and the law, it's not like that, right? So now we're 5 lines down on the top of 81b, okay? We said one could go fishing, okay, in the Sea of Galilee. So long as they don't spread an underwater trap or net or some kind of item there, some call it a wall, the amodet hasfina that will limit the availability of ships or boats to pass around. Okay? Aval, but he says, the Mishnah Gemara goes on, Sad, but it's permissible to hunt or fish, okay, using nets and traps. Okay? Tana Rabbana. But we have a Braita now. Okay, that says as follows. The Rishonah hitnu shvatim ze'im zeh. Shalo yifros kaliya v'amidat hatzvina. Okay, initially, we saw that the tribes made conditions in which they would not spread, let's call it large nets for this discussion, okay, and which will limit the traversing of boats. Outside who birushatot who b'machmarot, but they could fish using nets and traps. Okay, just a quick side. Okay, the practice, if you ever see it, if you ever go to Galilee and see them fishing on the sea, is they have these large round nets that they throw out the nets on over the water. And then, and basically 2 or 3 boats are gathered together, and together they pull in these nets, and then they split up the catch. Okay, so that it reflects to what degree there could be something that, if a large net like that was left underneath and not taken care of properly, that would certainly be a deterrent for other boats to travel.
Discussion where some portions say only hooks and lines.
Yeah, that's the
Others, it's got about 4 different opinions. One of these is only shaved only.
Okay, we'll get to that. Let's wait till we get to that, Michael, okay?
Complex thing. The point here too is the common fish everybody can access, but deterring commerce, that was Nepal's territory.
Okay, we'll see that shortly in a statement in the Gemara in a moment. Okay, Tana Rabbana, but we have a Braita that teaches as follows. Yama shel Tveria b'chel koshel Naftali haita. That's where we now get to this point, that the Sea of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee, was in the area of the tribe of Naphtali. And not just that, okay, Ella, that there was a stretch of land that was left the full length of the rope, okay, for a fish trap that also was along the edge of the Sea of Galilee, because that's where Naphtali would let their nets dry, so they were replaced. The Kaim Mashanama, in order to fulfill what was said, Yam B'darom Yarasha, the words in the pasuk that both the sea and the further south was what Naphtali would acquire. Anya, and now we have a brighter. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Flushim shebaharim b'cheskat kol hashvatim hein omdim. Okay, that in regards to, I'm going to call it shrubs, bushes, twigs, okay, things like that, that are already removed, that have been uprooted, okay, are the property of all of the tribes. Okay, umechubarim, but where it is still attached, that belongs to that particular tribe. And you don't have any individual tribe. And you have no individual tribe that is lacking both mountainous areas and valleys and more waste areas. And in other words, you have all sorts of geographic aspects for each and every tribe. Okay? Why? Because it says, Upanu usu'u lachem, uba'u har ha'emori, ve'al kol shechenav ba'arabah, ba'har, shveya, b'negev, b'chof hayam. Okay? Implying that all aspects of the geography were associated with each and every tribe. וכן אתה מוצא בכנענים ובפריזים ובאמוראים שלפניהם. And likewise, you found that was the case with the others. Okay, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Amorites, that was before them. Shene'amar ve'el kol shechinav. Okay, and all their neighbors. Okay, so in other words, the entire country, okay, had each for each tribe. Alma, right? Shechinav hachi havu. Therefore, we say that this is what their neighbors had at that time. Okay. Now we go to number 7. Okay. V'nifnim ma'achorei hageder v'afil b'sneh shehaya mele'ah karkos. Okay, that one may take care of their physical needs, even behind here. And I'm going to agree with Michael that we're really talking about here gader, not simply a fence, but a stone wall. And we'll see why it's going to be a stone wall a little further on in the Gemara. Okay? In just a second. Okay? What happens? Okay? Even if there's saffron growing there. Amar Rav Acha, says Rav Acha bar Yaakov, lo nitzraha ela litol himenu shror. Okay? This was only said for the reason so that somebody could actually take a stone out of the wall to clean themselves. Ouch. Okay. Amar Rav Chisda, says Rav Chisda in response, va'afilu b'Shabbat, even on Shabbos. Okay, what happens? Mar Zutra Chasida tells the Gemara, tells us that Mar Zutra the righteous, Shakir, he would take, Umahader, and he would return the stone, V'amar le'Shmaya, and he would say to his servant, okay, this is if it happened on Shabbos, whether we include that or not. That's why the asterisk. Zil shirkei, go and plaster it over. Okay, right? Okay, that's what happens. Okay, number 8. Okay, okay, well, all right, John, Scott, come on. Okay, that's right. Umahalchim b'shvilei hareshut. All right. Okay, so we said then in number 8, and we permit people umahalchim b'shvilei hareshut ad shetered revi'ah shniyah, and people may cross over private property using it as a shortcut. Okay, until the time of the second rain, because at that point the seed would start sprout. Right?
These are hands that people started using and the owner.
Okay, well, we'll get that. Okay, let's get to the Gemara first. Amar Rav Papa, Vahai Didam. Okay, and what about here in Babylonia? It says in our place, Afilu Tal Kashelah. Even there in Babylonia, when dew comes, the dew will have an impact on the fields. Okay, not just the rain, and therefore we had to make a similar requirement in Babylonia as well. Right? That was now number 9. We say people can veer off to the sides of the road because of the ruts or depressions in the road was one explanation. The other was because of the mud along the side of the roads where there were wooden stakes.
There was a stone sticking out of the road.
Okay, well, it could very well be. All right, so what happens? Okay, let's see. In either case, Shmuel Barav Yehuda, we got a couple of stories now, okay, on the road. Okay, Shmuel Barav Yehuda, Havu Shakle Va'azle Bo'orcha. Shmuel and Rav Yehuda were traveling along and going along the roadway. Hava Mistalek Shmuel Letzidei Hadrachim. And Shmuel veered over to the side of the road. Amale Rav Yehuda. And Rav Yehuda says to him, T'na'im shehitnei Yehoshua. These conditions, stipulations that Yehoshua set up, okay, afilu b'Bavel, do they apply in Bavel as well? Okay, Amale, he says Shmuel to him, she'ani omer afilu b'chutz ha'aretz. That according to me, says Shmuel, these apply even outside the land of Eretz Yisrael. Okay? All right, going on. Another road story. Okay? Rabbi, all right, the two of them. Havu Shakle Va'azle Ba'orcha. Okay, Rabbi and Rabbi Chia were traveling along the road. Istalku L'tzidei Hadrachim. And the two of them veered to the side of the road. But what happens? Havakam Nafsiya as the Rabbi Yehuda ben Kanisa. And they know that this Rabbi Yehuda ben Kanisa was 10 broad, giant steps almost. Okay? And he did not go to the road. Okay, what happens? Kamayu in front of him. Amale Rebbe Rabbi. So Rebbe turns to Rabbi and says, Me who's that? Who's this who's sort of showing off in front of us, acting, in other words, we're following the halacha, and he seems to be going above and beyond that. What is he doing showing off? Perhaps it's Rabbi Yehuda Shanusa, who's my servant, who's my student, I'm sorry. And really all his deeds are, he's not trying to show off, okay? He's trying to do something that's appropriate. So what happens? When Rebbe and Rebbe Chia reached him, they saw him, right? And they said to him, Amala, you love Yehuda ben Kanusa, if it were not that you were Rebbe Yehuda ben Kanusa, and basically that Rebbe Chia offended you for Rebbe, okay, what would have happened? Gizartinhu l'shakha b'gizra parzal. I would have cut off your legs with iron shears, which really means I would have put a ban or an excommunication on you for showing off in front of your Rebbe and in front of the Rebbe. Okay. Okay. What happens? Number 10. Okay. All right. Number 10. Okay. All right. Right, we get to this example of somebody who's got lost in the vineyards.
Art Scroll close at 9.
Aha. Well, we're going to challenge Art Scroll in just a moment. Okay. Okay. Actually, we'll get okay. Okay, we'll see. All right. One who gets lost among the vineyards. Mafsig v'yored is able to cut and enter. Mafsig v'oleh is able to cut it through and exit. Tanu Rabbanan. Follow the following brighter, says the Gemara. One who sees his friend, his neighbor, his colleague, all right, wandering among the vineyards. Mafsig oleh, cuts and enters. Mafsig v'yored, cuts and exits. After ma'alehu la'ir oladerech, until he's able to bring him out and lead him either to the city or on a roadway. He saves him, right? Who shetoeh, and likewise one himself who is lost, bein hakramim, among the vineyards, mafsig oleh, mafsig v'yored. Okay, he cuts and enters, cuts and exits, until they reach the city or until they reach a roadway. Why here does this text, the Braita, tell us? And further, v'chein, mahu detema, what does it want us to tell you? Okay, maybe in regards to one's friend, a colleague, another person, and he knows that he's lost, okay, and doesn't know where to head inside the vineyard, okay, then that may be where it's permitted to do the cutting and entering, cutting and exiting.
Can he try to take a shortcut by cutting through?
No, we're going to see that shortly. About who? But we may have thought he himself. Okay, where he doesn't know where he's directed or going. Okay, lo nifsog. Okay, he cannot cut through. And here's the answer to your question, Bob. Why? Nahadre nahader b'mitzre. Why? Because he's supposed to really go back to the boundary, to the edge. Kamash malan. What does it come to teach us? Had oraita hudetanya. It comes to teach us that that's the way it is according to the Torah. Okay, that he should really go all the way back to where he entered or where the boundary is. Okay? The Tanya, okay, right? Hashavat gufo minayin. But how do we know we can do this in order, based on the concept of we return his body, and so to speak, to him? Talmud Loma, v'hei shavuto. It says, and return it to him. Return it, in other words, return himself to him to be able to find his way. From the Torah we see, it seems to be telling us that they have to go back to the boundary. Atahu, takin, right? The mafsig v'oleh, mafsig v'yored. And here then we see then that it's takana, that they can cut through. Okay? All right, now we get to what I would have counted as number 11.
I is then required to reimburse the owner of that.
Okay, you have that from Rashi?
Yes.
Oh, rather Rishon. Okay, thank you. Okay, umeit mitzvah kana mikomo. Okay, or minhe. Okay, but let's challenge us with the following. Okay? Hamotze mate mutar be'isrataya. Okay, we find the body lying across what I'm going to call a main thoroughfare. Right? Okay, mafneu liyamin istaraya. We move the body to one side, to the right side of the thoroughfare, or the small istaraya, or to the left side of the thoroughfare. Okay? Furthermore, says the Gemara, clarifying, sadeh bor, if there's a fallow field, the sadeh near, and a plowed field, mafnehu the sadeh bor. We remove it to the fallow field. Sadeh near, the sadeh zera. If we have a plowed field and a seeded field, mafnehu the sadeh near. We move the body to the plowed field. Hayu shtehen borot, if both of them are fallow fields, shtehen nerot, or I'm going to fit in here, both of them are plowed fields, shtehen root, or both of them are seeded fields, excuse me, mafneu lemakom shir yirtzeh, he removes the body to the place where he so chooses. Okay? Amar Rav Bibi, says Rav Bibi the following: B'mutal al ametzah.
And here we see he's not under the love of Christ, but in the
So you can do.
We'll see.
we say he is, so we have to resolve.
Yes, right? Okay. All right, B'mutal al ametzah. According to Rav Bibi, what the person was, the body was found lying on a pathway, stretched across the pathway, okay, which again would be a problem for Tuma, okay, for Kohanim, particularly, all right? So, mitoch shenitan lefnoto, since we have already permission given to move the body, mafneu lechol makom sheyitzeh, move it to whatever place he chooses. Amrei, wait a second, says the Gemara. Asara, you said that initially that there were 10 going to be stipulations that Yehoshua said. Hani, chad sari havyan. But here we have 11. Okay? That's why I counted each one as we went through. Okay? Mahalchin b'shvilei harishut, where we say that it's permissible for individuals to traverse private property on pathways that have already been established. Okay? Shlomo Amra. It was by Solomon. Okay? Keditanya, as we learn elsewhere in the Braita. Hare shekalu perotav min hasadeh. Okay? That if they completed the harvesting of the fruit from the field, ve'eno maniach b'nei adam l'kanes b'toch sadeu, and the owner of the field does not permit people to traverse his field. Okay? Mahabriot emrotelav. What are people going to say about this owner? Mahana ayesh leploni. What benefit does he have by not allowing people to use that shortcut? Umahabriot mizikam. Okay, mizikotlo. Okay, what problems, what negative impacts does it have on him that he doesn't allow people to use a shortcut? Allah hakatuv omer, and about him we say as follows: Miyot tov al tikra ra. Okay, if we say basically about from being good, don't call something out that's going to be bad. Umi kativ, and do we really have that as a pasuk? Asks the Gemara. Miyot tov al tikra ra. Is that really a pasuk? And yes, in a sense, kativ, it's written ki hai gavna. In the following manner, it's written: Al timna tov mi ba'alav b'yot la'el yadech la'asod. Okay, again, the two leka, and still, that's not further. That's not the case. Okay, v'ha'ika the Rabbi Yehuda. Right, but that's all the rules. Only those few. Weren't there other rules that Rabbi Yehuda mentioned? The Tanya, for example, is a following braita. Rabbi Yehuda says as follows: Omer, b'sha'at hotza'at zvalim, at the time when you're removing the zevel, the excrement from your wherever, adam motzi zvalo l'reshut harabim, v'tzovro kol shloshim. He takes it out of his house into the public domain, and he piles it up there for 30 days. Kedei shehi nishuf b'raglei adam or b'raglei behema, so that the excrement gets stomped on, trodden on, okay, by people and by animals. Behema sha'al manat came in Chil Yehoshua Yisrael at the Aretz. Okay? I'm sorry, B'raglei Behema. Didn't read it right. Sha'amanat came because in this manner, in Israel et haaretz, Joshua was able to provide the appropriate kind of allocation to Bnei Israel of the land. But so now we have the following. The Rabbi Ishmael. But also with that, still all of the stipulations. Don't we have one by Rabbi Ishmael, Benosha Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka, from him, the Tanya, as we learned also the following. Rabbi Ishmael Benosha Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka Omer. He says as follows. Tanai Beit Din, who it's a condition of the court. What? Sheyehei ze yored l'toch sadeh chavero. V'kot seitz socho. If one goes now into the field of his neighbor, and he cuts off a branch because what? Shel chavero, from the branch of a tree of his neighbor, l'hatzil nichil shelo, because his bees have traversed from his property to the neighbor's property, and they built a hive on that other branch, and he wants to recollect his bees back to his property. And to do so, he has to cut off the branch of his neighbor's tree. Okay? He must pay a certain amount to the value of the branch for the tree to the neighbor. And this is a condition of the court. Or what about the following situation? When a person is carrying a large barrel, he should pour out the wine, okay, from his barrel in a situation where umatzil dovshano shel chavero, in order to use the barrel to save the honey of his neighbor, because honey is more worth, is more valuable, thank you, than wine. And then he can demand payment for his wine, for the loss of his wine from the honey sold by his neighbor. And a further example, and again, it's a condition of the court, right? Okay, that if he's carrying a load of wood, and he should break up that pile of wood in order to help collect the flax of his neighbor. And then he can demand payment for the money for his wood from that of the sale of the flax. She'almanat came in Chil Yehoshua Israel et haaretz. Because in all of these examples, we see these were further stipulations that Yehoshua made in order to guarantee the proper habitation of the land. And we'll stop right there for the day.
Okay, please. Going over. What? Right. Yes. Okay.